and an example of it, which is mentioned here, AI, VR, and robotics. So if you look at earlier, I can give you an example right now. The Amazon Big Billion Day sale is going on. The Flipkart Big Billion Day Amazon Great Indian Festival, sorry, is going on. A lot of you would have not tried this, but right now, if you have, let's say, 2 minutes, let's do a practical, and then we can have people answering whether how did they get the answer or not. Whether it's practical. So let's look at a VR. All of you, if you have your phones with you, and in your phones, if you have Amazon app installed or a Flipkart app installed, preferably on Amazon, it works a bit faster than Flipkart. So I will prefer if you open up your Amazon shopping apps and search for any TV. Search for maybe a Samsung 4K TV. And when you search for the TV, there would be an option to look at how does it look on your wall. So there would be an AR option, augmented reality option. If you click on that button, I can show you on the phone how does that button look up. I'll open up my Amazon app, I'll search for a TV, and I'll show you that button. And then you have to just do one thing: point that phone, your phone, towards a wall where you want to put up the TV, and it will show you how the TV would look on that wall. Okay, I'll just search for a Samsung 4K TV. So I've got a Samsung 4K TV on this. So see, if you look at, there is an option mentioned. My phone is not visible because of, I think so, the background, virtual background that I'm using. But just under this TV image, you would have an option view in your room. So when you click on that view in your room button, it will tell you how the TV would look up exactly in your room. It will open up your camera. It will ask the access. You will have to just point it to a wall and you would be able to see how does it look. Did anyone try that? Yes, a lot of you are saying yes. Great. So did you know about this option before? My next question, did you know about such an option exists in Amazon and you will be able to check how the TV looks? And this is a technology which is called as augmented reality. So a very small feature, and it helps you a lot. So it's something similar is being developed by Amazon stores. You would walk into a store, you will stand in front of a mirror, you will choose a clothing lineup, you will choose which size it is, and it will show you how it would fit you based on how you're looking in the mirror. So augmented reality is something which is coming up a lot. And this is where never someone thought of it that from home, you would be able to visualize that how a TV would look on a wall. But computer scientists made that possible with augmented reality. Obviously, virtual reality was there, but that the next step is coming out augmented reality. A lot of things are now coming up in the augmented reality mode because people want to experience is how they would look in the real environment. A lot of games are coming up in augmented reality mode. So it's all computer scientists job roles where they are defining such things. And based on these definitions, they come up, they search, and they come up with area. Now, augmented reality is a job role. It becomes a software developer's choice that they want to become an augmented reality developer. And for computer sciences, that's the base package that you can look at. Moving forward. The next one, it's an IT project manager. A lot of students have this notion that it is a non-technical job, and that is why I have put it into this. An IT project manager is not non-technical, but it's a cross-functional role. It requires technical, it requires better communication skills, I would say. Communication skills as in not speaking in English, but delivering the message in a correct manner. So maybe I need a button on my website which does an X things, but if I'm not able to share that thought with the software developer in a correct manner, it would become an issue because they would put up a button that would work in some different manner than my expectation. So a lot of projects fail because The project managers are the ones who are there to coordinate between the IT team and the team, which is going to, tell us what they need, what does need to be developed. And if they are not able to communicate the message properly, the project fails. And it's a very, very niche area and domain where I definitely say everyone should look at. Though the base salaries look less in the initial years, which is there in front of you, but it has a very good role over the years because you are able to understand the technical part. You're also the one who is able to understand the client. You're also able to understand how to communicate. And if you see a growth of someone who becomes a CEO, CTOs, and CEOs of a company, they would have done IT project manager role once for sure in their lifespan of growth. Why? Because that's how you understand technology, and that's how you understand how to run a technology, and that's how you need how to manage things, and that's where the skills come in. Then this is something which is a very upcoming, I would say, job role and specific to Indian context. Why I'll talk about it. And this is something which is related to cloud computing. Now, site reliability engineer was not a job role for Indians basically because there were very less data centers in India. If I go back, let's say 5 years from now, there would be hardly any job roles for site reliability engineer. But if in the current context I talk about, a lot of upcoming data warehouse and data centers are there in India. Why? Because of certain policies that the government has kicked in, that every company who's working with data, they needs to have servers in India. The data first needs to be processed within the Indian government boundary, and then they can take it outside. The obviously the main copy has to stay within Indian borders. And this is a very big debate which is going on, and it is there. But because of that, people understanding because of the Indian ecosystem, which is growing like anything, you would need the Indian market because of its, sheer strength that it carries, and you cannot ignore it. So having a data center in India becomes far more evident. Earlier, for even Facebook, you did not have a data center in India. The nearest data center was in Singapore. So a lot of companies which did not have data centers are now building data centers in India. The growth of this data center and the fiber optical network around the country has given a lot of growth to site reliability engineers. These are the ones who are, making sure that everything runs smoothly, the tasks are handled smoothly, they are able to fix every properly, and the major point is they have to reply on a real-time basis. So it's a job which will never have the same kind of challenge every time. You would have a new challenge every time. It's an exciting job role, I would say. Moving forward, this is something we'll talk about a lot because data science growing a lot. Though I'll talk about the history of data science, when it went down, and then when you can look at data science, coming back into picture. So what happened with data science is that data science boom post the internet boom in India in 2016. There was a big data science boom that happened. Then a lot of data was generated. So a lot of data scientists, the need of data scientists came in. A lot of data people were needed to organize that data, manage that data, and then take up solutions for that data, and then analyze that data and come up with exciting ways on how to monetize that data. So it happened a lot. But with pandemic coming in, there was a lot of need of development and projects to come up. So a lot of focus was shifted to project, and data science went down a bit because there was need to develop new softwares, new methodologies to help people work remotely. The jobs which were thought that they cannot work remotely, where to be put on remote mode. So a lot of development roles come up, and hence the development cycle shot up, which was already growing, but growed up exponentially. And that's where we saw the growth of hiring that happened in the IT industry. And this growth is going on right now. But within next 2 years, by 2025, you could say, what would happen is all the development cycles would reach to a stagnant phase where a lot of development is done and only certain niche developments would keep on growing. But a lot of things are already developed in last 2 to 3 years, and some of them will be completed by next or maybe next 2 years. When the entire architect, the software is there ready, The next thing is the data that would be generated by these softwares to be looked at, and how to manage this data, how to utilize this data, and how to monetize this data. And hence, within the next 1 or 2 years, there would be another boom that will come for data science. Why? Because now those softwares are there, everything is placed, but there's a lot of data to come in, what to do about that data, how to use that data, manage it, structure it, and utilize it is going to be there. And hence, there will be another data science boom that would come in. And that's where data engineering job roles come in. You start as a maybe junior data developer, junior data scientist, and then eventually grow up in a few years and get to a position of data engineer. And it's one of the most important fields which would be evergreen, which will never go out. Yes, the fluctuation of data would be there, but data is something which is going to be there. Everything would be run on data. If you look at how the transformation of the developed countries have happened, and the growth story that our country is following to get into that developed arena, is all dependent on data, be it Aadhaar, be it PAN cards, be it how you process I would say, income tax, how you go for a lot of authentication. So your Digi, uh, uh, sorry, M-Vahan applications, where you can have all of your data for your vehicle, and you do not need to carry those documents anymore. All of thing is verified online. A police inspector, stopping you, do not needs to check your data physical. They can just put in your car number in the app, and they can know whether all of the data is correct or not, whether maybe your insurance is outdated or your pollution is outdated. They can just do it with a entry of a number. Whose car is it? What's name it is? Everything can be checked by them in one go, which was not possible earlier, which is there in developed countries. But now it's there in your. How all of this is done? Again, data engineers, which structure the data, manage it, and create ways of utilizing it. Now the dots can be connected with everything that is there. So data engineers in Indian context will grow a lot in the years to come, and the boom would be there visible within the next 2 years. Now let's shift to a bit another different job domain, which is under security. So one of the roles under security which is growing is IT security consultant. Consultant does not sound like a job role or a career, but it is one of the best roles. Even a software consultant is there. Though it is not picked up in India, but software consultants are growing. The job role is growing like anything in countries like Israel, which is a very developed country, US, UK, and the Europe continent. How and why? Because consultants do not work with one company, but works with multiple companies. And when they work with these multiple companies, they consult on how the data should flow. They consult on how the security aspects needs to be in place. They look at your infrastructure and tell you that, okay, this is something good, this is something wrong, these are the vulnerabilities which you need to plug, this is how you can plug them. These are the hardwares which are outdated, which are you could say prone to attacks. You can use up new hardwares which are not prone to even certain hardware hacks, I would say. So they come up, they look at your infrastructure, they look at how the system works, and they look at these vulnerabilities which can be there and figure out those vulnerabilities and inform, so that people can bug. So you would have heard about a lot of bug bounties which are coming up with multiple different companies. They give you option to come up, explore their website or a software and come up with bugs, and then they pay people to find those bugs, and then they fix those bugs, because this is how everyone understand, because people in a company thinks in a different manner. They have developed a software so they think in a particular manner and are giving it out to the user to use. When it goes into users usage, there are different use cases that come up. These use cases are the places where these kind of bugs would generate. When these bugs come up, bugs reported, and it's a very important bug, they pay you. And that's what IT security consultants do on a regular basis. Healthy salary, growth good, because security is never going to go out. With more and more softwares coming in, with more and more applications coming in, the security needs is going to grow like anything. Okay. This is something which has started booming in India, which is DevOps engineer. This role would grow like anything. Why? Because earlier the development was not done in India. Indians were generally doing jobs in software industry of maintaining, updating, cleaning, or I could say testing, updation of softwares. Developments were generally done in countries like US, UK, other places where they had their main offices. Now, understanding the need of the software industry, because it's driven by a lot of Indian engineers, they understood that no, we are doing it wrong because it's not possible to get in every software engineer to a local place to get the work done. So we would have to do development out there as well. When development shifted to India, the role of DevOps engineer came in. So the full form is DevOps, Development Operations. So how a particular software is conceptualized, how it would be created, tested, then again tested, checked, maintained, and how it would go into production, and then how it would be hosted. Plus, after hosting, what are the challenges that you see in running in day-to-day basis? Everything will be taken into account. This entire cycle, which is there for software to start by the time it is deployed, and then issues which come in real time, basic ones to be fixed, is what it is called DevOps engineer. Though this role was not there earlier, but it is going to boom. Why? Because again, as I said, data centers coming in India, job roles coming in India, these shift which is there now coming up with the IT sector in India is giving these new job roles a push, a very big push. So hence, DevOps engineer is something which is coming up a lot. And what do you need to do become a DevOps engineer? Because it's a new field, I'll talk about it a bit. There are tools which come up. There are tools which are there for development. There are tools which are there for testing. There are tools which are there for maintenance. There are tools there for synchronization. I'll take a name of the few you would have heard about it. Dockers, Kubernetes, Jenkins. There's a lot of tools by Atlassian which are there in DevOps. So Atlassian is one of the great players which come in DevOps engineering and pays a lot. Kafka is there. So there are a lot of tools which are there in DevOps, which you need to understand and master, which helps you work with them, the development of a project, and that's how you run the entire show. And from DevOps engineer, you can graduate to IT project management, and from there you can graduate to maybe a CEO, CTO, or you can even graduate to software architect. So these are all the opportunities how you can grow from a DevOps engineer to further roles. System analyst, this is something which is a part of, I would say, a basic analyst as someone in cloud and data put together. These are the people who evaluate what are the changes that are needed in a system based on maybe the input, the bugs reported, if an outdated system is going on, based on reports that come up, how a system is to be worked, what are the challenges that they see in, there's a change that is required in a particular methodology of a software to be used. So they look up all of these. They create those troubleshoots which you have in your systems and with softwares that if you do this, a particular problem could be taken care of. It's a very entry level role, but helps a lot. So yes, system analyst is something which you can look at, and it has been there since long in the Indian context. So it's a very niche startup role which is there, which you can look at. And then the one which is growing like anything, cybersecurity engineer. It is something similar to what we talked about as an IT security consultant, but there are further more jobs which are, I would say, tasks which are added for a security engineer. They just do not look at, analyze, and report bug. They prepare methodology so that any kind of threats and vulnerabilities which are detected in real time can also be tackled with. So something which is already not there. So cybersecurity engineer needs to understand machine learning as well, because they come up with methodologies where they say that, okay, if even a similar kind of threat, which is not recorded by the system, comes up, this system will be able to take care of it. And that's how cybersecurity engineers need are growing. Why? Because with techniques and tools coming up, to crack systems, the system needs to respond to them in real time. And that's where security engineer comes in. An IT security audit will just tell you the vulnerabilities. Security engineers would come up and apply solutions to that, as well as make the system safer by saying a similar kind of threats. If generated, the system can take care of it on its own. So these are all different, I would say, prospects where you can look at. We will be talking about Q&A. If you have any other domain where you want to talk about the questions that you have, we'll talk about those. So the context of all of these areas, why I wanted to share was because these are the ones which are growing in the context of India right now. And when you're looking at job roles, you can look into these job roles properly. Obviously, there are a number of offshore opportunities in each of these roles to go onshore at a particular company where you are, employed, and then you can go to that company's client role and work there as well. But you need to understand in context that how these roles are growing, why these specific roles to target. That's where I'll put the presentation on hold with respect to this, and let's open up for Q&A. Anyone who has a query, you can put it into the Q&A section, and we can take the Q&A from there. Ashutosh, when will placement starts? I think so. Someone from the ODL team can take that question because you'd be the one. Okay, what all things we should know in cybersecurity? A good question, Krishna. In cybersecurity, Krishna, there are tools. There are vulnerability assessment tools. There are penetration testing tools. So there's a very good website, which is pentest.in. So you can type pentest on Google. It will take you to that web page. So it's a very good tool for penetration testing. That is how you are looking into a system, going inside the system, trying to find vulnerabilities and cracking a system. So it would have multiple layers at which network layer you can attack, how you can attack at a particular point in a system. All of those details are there. So I would say you start from the basic networking skills, which are there to understand, then graduate to vulnerability assessment, and then graduate to penetration testing. And then you can graduate to bugs and looking at how to solve those areas and come up with solutions. So that is how you can grow to become a cybersecurity engineer. I hope I was able to answer that question. Okay, AI and data related role. Good question, Palab. You would be thinking, why did not I put up AI roles? Which because everyone is talking about a lot of AI ML stuff. So at this point of time, a lot of career growth in AI ML in this current context in the next 2 to 3 years is growing at a very slower pace because for AI ML, there's a lot of data that is needed. And the current job roles which are there in AI ML are with respect to data science. So they need people who can come in, structure that data, submit that data for through which a machine can take in that data, learn from it, and then the artificial algorithms can apply that algorithms to use that data and give out the answer to people. So what is happening is if you look at Chat GPT, if you read about it properly, it can give you data up to a certain date in 2021 because all of that data is punched into the Chat GPT system. So if you search for something in Chat GPT, the data would be outdated till 2021. But if you upgrade and pay for it, then it will give you in real time as well. The real time answer at times can be wrong because it is picking up and the data might not be structured. So there's a lot of job roles in AI ML, but they are more related to data at this point of time. With respect to algorithm and large language models, the roles are only with experienced folks. So a fresher to enter would have to enter at a very entry level is where I skip those roles, I would say. Okay, Vilash. It's another good question. What is the difference between data scientist and data analyst? So data scientist is someone, Avilash, who creates the data engineering pipeline and then defines with a data analyst how that pipeline would work. So data scientist is not just someone who will analyze the data and give you the result, but someone who's defines the entire journey of the data. So let me give you an example. In the current context, you do something on your phone, how that data should be recorded, how it should be structured to get to a system, then how the logic should be applied to monetize and utilize that data is what data scientist does. And then the data analytics person work on that data to use it for the purpose that is there. So let's take an example. You do some search on a particular search window, maybe Google, maybe Bing, maybe ChatGPT. How that data that you search is to be categorized, which category to be put in, and then how that data needs to be shared with different parties who would look at that data in a structured manner. Then they can consume that data. And then a data analyst would look at that consumption and decide that, okay, it's an advertisement related data. I can give advertisement based on this search history to this user because this user is connected to another interface, maybe Facebook, Insta, Twitter, and so on and so forth, and where I can send him the recommendations. So a data scientist comes up with the entire pipeline of data usage, whereas data analysts focus on consumption and analyzing the data and taking decision based on those data which is there. Okay, how can we make career in full stack web development, Kiranpreet? Good. Kiranpreet, I would say please work on that. But I will say the full stack web development is a small domain which is there right now. Sorry, it's a big domain there right now, but for a small time span. Why I'm saying a small time span with this AI ML, the very first domain that they will impact is full stack web development. Within next 3 to 5 years, you would say it would be very easy. So what happened with the website development would happen with full stack web development. So website development was a big job role. If you talk about starting 2000s to early 2015, 16, with internet penetration getting better, what happened was there were websites that came up in which you can create websites like this in a snap. You just need to fill in basic details. The generator website developer would develop a website and give it to you, and then you can edit it in your manner and your website is ready, which used to take a lot of long time. Now with the things like ChatGPT, generative AI coming in to generate a web page, a complete web development page with even backend capabilities is getting worked on. So a basic website can be developed not just with front end, but with backend capabilities, which it can work on. So yes, if you want to full stack, the current stack which is mostly used is MERN, which is Mongo, Express, React, and Node. Mongo is a Mongo database which is used. Express is used for HTML, CSS, which is there for designing. Then comes in your React and Node. React takes care of the front end development and Node takes care of the backend development. So if you do these technologies clubbed with APIs, so API is very important for a full stack developer. So understanding API lifecycle is something which is very important. How to create an API, utilize API, call APIs, maintain APIs. All of this is very much important. So if you're learning, learn MERN stack. I'm repeating again, Mongo, Express, React, Node, React and Node.js, React.js, Node.js, along with it, APIs. So you can learn any ways of that. The one which is most prominent right now is the Postman API. You can learn that. And if you have completed this cycle, you're good to go as a MERN stack, full stack web development. Until no, OpenAI will not replace jobs, but it will help people do work faster. So what is going to happen is if people do not embrace the technology, they will be out of that particular thing. Why? Because it will make certain jobs a bit faster. As I said, full stack web development. People who know how to use OpenAI for full stack web development will be able to create business out of it, will be able to generate projects like this, and will be able to create better opportunities there. But there will be still complex web development that needs to be done, which ML and AI will never be able to do. So you will need to upgrade yourself. For small tasks, you would need to embrace AI, and that's how the AI would go in and would be able to work in. But if you think AI will completely replace, no, that's not going to happen. Okay, we have the next question. Which cloud is the best according to the market? So I will say it's a very tricky question, Krishna, because There are multiple things which are there. In current context, if you look at market capitalization, AWS has the maximum market capitalization. Second comes Microsoft Azure. Third comes Google Cloud, which is growing like anything. And then there are small marketplaces which are there, like Oracle Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, VMware, and so on and so forth. So if you look at which one to go for, there's a lot of work already done in AWS Cloud, and there are a lot of resources available in AWS Cloud. So in my understanding, if I go in AWS Cloud, there's a lot of competition already there and a lot of people experience working there. Whereas if I go in Microsoft Azure Cloud, because with OpenAI coming in, with ChatGPT coming in, it's all going to execute over cloud, and the cloud requirement is going to grow. People who want to embrace the ChatGPT and generative AI would need resources, and the company who's delivering it is Microsoft. The integration would be through Microsoft Azure. So if you go for Microsoft Azure certifications, or if you go for Google Cloud certification, that's the area where resources are less available. So doing that would be more beneficial for you in terms of getting jobs and growth in jobs. Once you have learned any of the cloud, it's very easy to switch to another cloud. So if you have learned Google, it becomes easy to shift to either Azure or AWS. Vice versa is also possible, because the logic remains the same. The name of the technology, which AWS calls it EV2, would be virtual machine in some, would be others in other. So the nomenclature changes, the logic, the basic idea remains the same. So for me, if you ask, Microsoft Azure or GCP should be the one looking at it, you should go for, because you're going at a fresher level. And if experience, then